Jedi Squadron is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu, and now Star Wars content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Hello, new Padawans, and welcome to the Jedi Squadron podcast. Here, you will be taking lessons in the many pieces of the Star Wars universe, whether it be the movies, animated series, video games, comics, and etc. This is your training into becoming a Star Wars fan as part of the Jedi Squadron. May your training go well, and may the Force be with you, young Padawans. What's going on, Star Wars Nation? This is the Jedi Squadron podcast. I am your host, Nathan Dessau.
And I'm Rizwan Merchant.
And today we are reviewing part 7 of the Ahsoka series. The episode is called Dreams and Madness. Before we get started, we do want to say that we are recording this in the middle of what is now only the Screen Actors Guild strike. Earlier this week, it was officially announced that a tentative agreement has been made between the Writers Guild and the studios. So the Writers Guild, their hard work is paid off in this strike. Good for them. We fully support them, and we hope that the Screen Actors Guild strike can yield just as much success.
And I'm also hoping that the agreement that they've tentatively made sticks.
Yep.
The last thing I want to see is us get excited now with a tentative agreement, and then next week we find out, oh, there's no tentative agreement because they suck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, we are doing this in support of them because without the hard work of these writers and actors, shows like Ahsoka would not be possible.
And we would not be very happy Star Wars fans today.
Right.
What I think is a great transition into episode 7, Nate.
It absolutely is.
You know, it's kind of interesting and to me unbelievable that we're on episode 7 already.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know you and I have been joking every podcast saying, can we have it all right now? But literally, we have everything in our hands except one more episode.
Yep.
And to that I say, hey Disney, can I get the last episode right now?
Yeah, can we get that right now?
Because I have thoughts. I think I know. I have theories and stuff to go into in this one, man.
All right, so we're gonna give the recap real quick.
Yeah.
I don't normally say this in our podcast, but I kind of want to do this a courtesy now. You can skip ahead to our review segment if you want to, because there are going to be spoilers, so you have been warned. So let's jump in. So the cold open of this episode before it transitions to the main portion. So first of all, to give a recap, the previous episode was mostly just, I mean, I don't want to say a setup because a lot of stuff happened, but to basically kind of sum it up, we saw Ahsoka and Huyang traveling to the new galaxy in the Purgles, and then the rest of the episode was all about Baylan, Shin, and Sabine arriving on the planet of a new galaxy, which is called Peridia, which is apparently the world of origin for the Dathomiri people, and that's where they met Night Sisters, which is also where Thrawn was. Sabine went out on her own little voyage and successfully found Ezra, and then the episode ended with Thrawn detecting that Ahsoka was approaching. Now, this episode begins with a cold open. We're back on Coruscant. Hera is on trial for basically disobeying the orders. You know, it was established in episode 5 that she was going against military command. And of course, Senator Ziono is being kind of a jerk because I don't know if he's a jerk in Resistance. I've not seen the show, but I can just assume that you're muted, Riz.
Oh, I was saying we gotta get on that at some point.
Yeah.
Because I need to know, why is he a dick?
Yep. So he's giving her a hard time and is demanding that she get court-martialed. But then we get a great cameo that I literally like. I don't want to say I had a huge fangasm over, but it was still cool. 3PO, C3PO, he comes in.
I jumped out of my seat when I saw when I heard 3PO's voice. I was like, wait, they didn't. They didn't
Yeah.
do it. They did it!
Yeah, like
And
I probably reacted even better than like when I saw R2, because we've seen R2 in two of these shows. He showed up with Luke at the end of Mandalorian season 2, and then we also saw him in Book of Boba Fett. I probably had a better reaction to seeing C3PO than R2.
I will never not be hyped to see my man R2 though, okay?
Yeah.
R2 is, like I said before, one of my favorite characters in this entire
Mm-hmm.
movie, whatever. Like, R2D2 is just on a whole different level to me.
Yeah, and C3PO will always have a special place in my heart, because I don't know if I told anybody on this podcast, not even Riz yet, but one of the very first Halloween costumes that I ever had as a kid was I went as C3PO for Halloween.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. Yeah, it was really fun. Uh, but anyway, C3PO comes in. He is working on behalf of Leia. She gets mentioned here again. They apparently established that she's the leader of the New Republic Defense Council, which, if that's the case, then if they're really going for like this like bigger story, like bigger political scandals, I don't think they can get away with not showing Leia that much anymore. Like they're gonna
No,
have
they have to do
to bring her
something.
in. Yeah. You can get away with not showing her in that one time when Tiva mentioned her. And I mean, I can buy her sending C3PO to speak on her behalf every once in a while, but at some point you're going to have to show her if
Yeah.
you establish her with a role that big, because this is like Minister of Defense level,
Yeah.
like,
It's a
ranking.
it's a
So,
pretty big role that she got here.
mhm. So he gets Hera off the hook by basically saying that Leia authorized her mission, which causes the council to, adjourn. But, Mon Mothma kind of meets her on the sideline, claiming that, you know, he knows that she knows that Leia didn't authorize the mission. And then Syndulla warns her that the threat of Thrawn returning is real, and they have to prepare for the worst but hope for the best.
Yeah.
And then, that leads us to where the rest of the episode is, where we're on Peridia. We start off with a very epic moment where Ahsoka's training with her lightsabers, and we see a holographic recording of Anakin, once again played by Hayden Christensen, and wearing his Clone Wars armor, which that image will never cease to be amazing.
It's beautiful. Like, just to have Clone Wars Anakin back,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty awesome.
And he mentions the formidable adversaries. So, of course, he mentions Grievous, and he mentions Count Dooku. He mentions Asajj Ventress. I love that. This is the first time I think Asajj Ventress has received any acknowledgement in live action.
Yeah. I don't think she's
So,
been mentioned anywhere else, but it's about time, man. That's all I gotta say.
yeah.
It's about time.
By the way, speaking of this, I know this is a side note, but like I saw a lot of people uh question why doesn't Dave Filoni bring back Asajj Ventress in the show, and I don't want to say anything explicitly because I know Riz hasn't done this. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm just gonna say this, guys. Like, there's a reason why Asajj Ventress isn't gonna pop up. So,
Yeah.
and you don't know why, go read the book Dark Disciple. So, just people who are angry that Asajj Ventress isn't showing up, there's a reason why. And honestly, if Asajj Ventress showed up, I would be pissed off. So, just want to say that.
I mean, yeah. Asajj Ventress is in a place that I'm okay with her not returning right now.
Yeah,
So,
by the way, Riz, we're gonna have to like review Dark Disciple while we're reviewing like the Clone Wars and everything, because that
that's
book
fine.
is literally based off of like storyboards from Clone Wars episodes. So you could consider that like 7 Clone Wars episodes compacted down into a book.
I'm sold. Let's do it.
Yeah. But anyway, going back, so they go through, she goes through a lot of recordings. Apparently he's made like 20 of them. I think she was looking at one recording with Ezra and Rebels, I remember. And honestly, the training that he put her through kind of reminded me a little bit of this one Tales of a Jedi short. There were 3 revolving around Ahsoka, and there was one that revolved entirely around him training Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly reminded me of that short. But anyway, so they arrive at Peridia and they immediately get attacked. We go through like a big dogfight in the debris field, which is like the ring that surrounds Peridia, and eventually she locates Sabine through a force bond. So this is kind of like a master and apprentice bond, which this is probably the first big sign of force sensitivity with Sabine, because
Yep.
This is literally the exact same thing that Luke used to call Leia for help when he was hanging for his life on Bespin in The Empire Strikes Back. So yeah, this is force sensitivity there. And then most of the episode after that is just like one big fight scene. Like Balin and Shin, they locate Ezra and Sabine along with the Naughties while they're like traveling to a different location. We get a fight where Ezra and Sabine have to fight them off. Ahsoka arrives on the surface and she fights Balin for a little bit before he's forced to retreat, and then Sabine and Ezra fight Shin. And while all that's happening, Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth, they finish loading up everything onto the Star Destroyer Chimera, and they recall their forces. So they're basically ready to escape back to the main galaxy. And we get a big reunion between Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra. And the Yang shows up with the ship, and Ezra says, "I'm ready to go home." And then the episode ends.
And yeah, I had so many feels with that. Seeing Ahsoka and him reunite. Like, I know Ahsoka wasn't a big part of Ezra's life. Like, she didn't train him directly. But she was a figure in his life when he was the Padawan under Kanan. Like,
Yeah, I mean, he was there on Malachor with her.
Yeah.
During, like, her big moment, like...
Yeah. But I don't think Ezra knows Vader and Anakin's connection.
Yeah, neither do I. Because, even though he... Because I don't remember Ahsoka telling him that, and even during that one scene where Vader's mask got busted open and Ahsoka and Anakin were talking, like, Ezra was putting Kanan on the ship, so he was too far away to hear anything in their conversation.
Yeah.
And one thing that's cool here is that Thrawn gets the information about Ahsoka, and in connection with the books, they established this in the first Thrawn movie, and I think in the book that maybe it's the book that Riz is reading right now, like, we see that Thrawn actually met and knew quite a bit about Anakin.
Yeah, no, Thrawn knows a lot, but I still am a little surprised that he doesn't know that Ahsoka's the Padawan until then. Like, I assumed he would have figured it out before now, but he also had no reason to need to know this about Anakin. Well, okay, so to help put this into perspective, Thrawn and Anakin meet in the second trilogy that's set before the first trilogy, if that makes sense, Nate.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they meet in the Clone Wars for the first time back then. So I'm a little confused on how Thrawn doesn't know Ahsoka from that if he met Anakin in Clone Wars, unless they met while Ahsoka was with like Rex or Obi-Wan on a different mission somewhere. And the answer to that question, I don't know because I haven't gotten that far yet. My
Could it
plan is
be
to.
during? Nah, it
What?
couldn't have been during the siege of Mandalore because
No.
Revenge of It. Everything that could have was happening with Anakin during the siege of Mandalore, we see during Revenge of the Sith. So
Yeah.
could it have possibly been like
Well,
when Ahsoka was on a different mission? Like I remember she and Barra Sophie were on a mission together at one point, but
Padme also took her on a mission every now and then. Remember, like, what was that separatist planet that Padme took Ahsoka to? Where Padme had that friend that was the senator from the separatist.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what the name of the planet is, but I do remember that story arc.
Yeah. So there's stuff like that that does happen. And Ahsoka's not always with Anakin because they do get separated every now and then on different missions. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's also the time where she's with Plo Koon, remember?
Yep.
So there's ample time for it to happen. When it happens and why, I don't know, but give me a couple of months to get through the books and we'll know. But
Yeah.
yeah. Um, no, but I highly recommend these books. Timothy Zahn is just amazing, and I'm becoming a big fan.
Yeah, Timothy's on. Like, I mean, if there's one thing that can unite every Star Wars fan together, it would be that Timothy Zahn is a great writer.
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
because even if you're not a fan of a new canon, like it's considered a sin in the Star Wars fandom to insult the original Thrawn trilogy. So,
Yeah, yeah. So, Nate, we need to talk about that finale of the finale episode a little bit, and
mhm.
what this is setting up to, because you and I were talking offline prior to this, and when I asked you what you thought of the episode, you said this is a big setup to next week, and I 100% agree with you, but now I need your take on the possibilities of what could happen here. So, the way I see it, a couple of things could happen next week. Number one, the ghost crew that's on Peridia does not make it back to our galaxy in the episode. They
Yep.
get stranded somehow. Either Thrawn strands them, um, or they just don't resolve the entire conflict in time. Because I'm going to assume we got a 45 minute to 50-minute long episode next week. I'm
Hmm.
not assuming we're getting an hour and a half or 2 hours like I want. So I don't see them wrapping up everything with a nice bow on the top, you know?
Hmm.
So one option is they get stranded. The other option is they do go back, but the final scene of episode 8 will be them gearing up to battle Thrawn in our galaxy. Maybe calling Mando, maybe calling Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian army, getting the New Republic to get their ass out of their head, like get their head out the ass.
Yep.
Um,
I do think that the only thing I think is going to be resolved this season is maybe not necessarily Shin, because I feel like, well, first of all, I don't want Shin to just like be eliminated in the next episode. I feel like Shin is a character
he
that they
he
really
needs to
need to
stick around.
explore. But Balin being killed and like eliminated, that's something that I feel would be a great way to wrap it up. Just because, I mean, well, first of all, I mean, they can't bring him back now since our friend Ray is no longer with us. But
Yeah,
I, but I just feel like they owe it to him to wrap up his character like maybe this season, and then like maybe like I don't know, you could have him like get killed by Ahsoka or something like that, and then like maybe Shin becomes like someone who in like the next season like wants to get revenge, since it's kind of established that she and Balin have like a genuine master and apprentice relationship. Like, I think they care about each other genuinely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to see Shin get eliminated because there's so much
No,
that they can do with
but
her.
I will say I agree with you, and it's with a reluctant heart that I say I want to see Balin die next episode, only because I don't want to see them leave his story unresolved.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that organically they had already planned to kill him off, but if they didn't, then they have to do some explaining, like leave him behind in Peridia to just be part of that galaxy from now on or something.
Yeah. And I mean, I kind of got the. I've become more curious with Shin now, especially because, like, my wife was kind of watching this episode with me, and she asked me, like, so did we ever find out what the story is on those two evil Jedi? And I was able to explain to her quite a bit about Balin. I mean, she's like, yeah, but what about the woman? And I tried to explain it. It's like, oh wait, they haven't really given us much on
No,
Shin
we don't
yet.
know
So
anything about Sin yet. But see, like that's the thing. Balin said, I think last episode, not this one, Sin, I'm training you to be more than a Jedi. I'm training you to be more than um a standard Jedi. You're gonna be more than that. So I think Sin's around for the long haul to hopefully carry out Balin's desire.
yep.
That is,
And if Balin dies, that would make her an even more compelling character in future
well,
seasons or
it might
future
make her more
appearances.
unhinged.
Well, that's true. She probably would have killed Sabine by now if Balin wasn't pulling her strings.
Correct. So still be more unhinged, still be left with no real check, because Thrawn considers Sin and Balin beneath him and not worth his time, and they're just mercenaries. Like
Yep.
he repeatedly shows how little he cares about those two throughout the episode today.
Mm-hmm. Like, they're just mercenaries, and once he's done using them, he'll just discard them.
Yeah.
In fact, I would probably find him very likely to kill Balin and Shin because, like, if he wants to establish a new empire, maybe he would view anyone who can wield the Force as a threat to that empire.
Yeah.
So naturally, he would kill Balin and Shin just because they could pose a threat to that.
Yeah. And so this brings up an interesting nuance that has been in the back of my mind probably since the first episode of Ahsoka, and I've been holding off on posing the question in a podcast out of hope that it would become very obvious to me why it was done this way. But they haven't explained it yet, so I'm going to pose the question, Nate, as a way to kind of give a question that we probably should get answered by next week. And that question is, why does everyone suddenly default to wanting Thrawn to be the new emperor of the galaxy and to continue Palpatine's work? And I understand he's a great admiral and he did a lot of great stuff and he was brilliant and devastating in battle, but why him to be the leader, especially when you read in the books, at least in the first book, that one we reviewed a couple of weeks ago. He didn't seem to have a very big desire, or his interests didn't seem to be very aligned with the emperor. His interests seemed to be more aligned with his own people, the Sith, and he did what he did in this with the Empire to fulfill his own personal goal, and because the goals aligned, that's why he was a good admiral for the Empire. But he's not actually somebody that I would immediately think at the end of at the Empire's demise to say, we need Thrawn back. Like, to me, that's a little interesting that they go this route. And I know it's a lot for plot, but if you were a part of the Empire like 5 years prior to the start of Ahsoka, would you be inclined to want Thrawn back? And then how did you communicate this plan to Thrawn to bring him back?
I mean, possibly just, if I had to guess, maybe they just mainly want, like, what I would think possibly is that they want Thrawn not necessarily to be the leader of a new empire, but what they could be interested in is, let's bring Thrawn back, and with his tactical genius and like everything that has brought us so many victories to the empire, we'll use him to like reignite the full might of the Imperial military, like the Imperial Navy and the Imperial Army. And with his tactical genius, we can crush the New Republic. And then after that, we can potentially find a new emperor or something akin to that, and we'll figure out what to do with Thrawn later.
And I mean, that's kind of the inkling we get with the Shadow Console in season 3 of Mando, which I know you haven't seen, but they have a scene with a lot of Imperial like
Mm-hmm.
generals and people, and they reference Thrawn being the savior. I mean, they don't use the word savior, but they imply that he's the one that they need.
And it could also possibly be that Thrawn, like, could not only unite, like, could not only unite the Imperial military, but he also has a lot of influence in the Chiss. So
Yeah,
he could use the might of the Chiss ascendantry. I can't remember what the pronunciation of that is, but he,
ascendancy.
yeah, ascendancy. Use something like that to like help establish more control over the galaxy or something akin to that. Like, it's, I don't know, like, but it is interesting, honestly. Like, I honestly find the Empire, like, I've always found the Empire to be very interesting during this time, since they have no head, and they're
Yeah,
trying to figure out what to do. I mean, it's like what I said in some of my Sentai reviews on the Toku Secrets podcast. There's nothing more interesting than like a villain organization that is struggling to stay relevant and is struggling to stay alive now that their leader is dead.
and I mean, when Hera's in her council inquiry thing or whatever that was, her trial, right? The trial that she
Mm-hmm.
was in, they do mention that the Imperials are basically scattered, they're disorganized, and we knew that. That was very obvious when we saw Vader and Palpatine both die within half an hour of each other in real time. Like,
Yeah.
if their leadership is gone, then they're going to struggle, and that's a very true fact. But why? First, we have to answer the question of, how did the Empire learn about Thrawn's potential to even return? Like, they make it seem like a prophecy.
Yeah.
So, if it's a prophecy, who the heck told him the prophecy? Because this is starting to feel like a Night Sister plot.
I'm also curious, like, I know this is somewhat off topic, but and maybe I do think that he should get pulled in simply because he does have a big role in the Empire, but like, I wonder how Moss Ameda, like, maybe he has something to do with bringing in Thrawn. Now, for those of you who don't know Mas Amedda, he is a character that we've seen. Remember in Revenge of the Sith? Well, actually, we see him in all three of the prequels. He's this. Hold on, I'm looking up what the name of the alien species is. He is a Chagrian. He's this blue alien with like two horns, and he's always seen carrying a staff, standing next to the side of the Chancellor in all the major meetings. So we saw him stand next to Valorum
Oh yeah.
in episode 1, and then we see him work with Palpatine multiple times in Attack of the Clones, Clone Wars, and Revenge of the Sith. Because they established that he is that even during the time of the Empire, he was Palpatine's vizier, like not necessarily his right hand man, but like basically his public guy. And the funny thing is, in the Aftermath novel that I've read, they established that he is kind of a proxy emperor to the Empire right now, but he's living in exile. So maybe it's his idea to bring in Thrawn, because I mean he actually had a pretty, like, he was basically Palpatine's like number one like bodyguard during the Empire's time. So I wonder how he would play into this. They really got to bring him back. I want to see what's happened to him.
I'd be interested to learn more about him, because I don't know nearly as much as you do. I'm learning a lot right now listening to you.
Yeah, but he, like, at least at this point in time, unless, someone has come up, like, he's basically living, like, he's, like, kind of barricaded in his own headquarters on Coruscant since the Empire's collapsed, and...
Well, if he's on Coruscant now, I'm sorry, he's in jail.
Well, yeah, but he's hidden from the New Republic, so...
He's hit... How hidden can he be on Coruscant, though? Like...
I don't know, he appeared in one little like short story interlude in the Aftermath novels where he's kind of the Emperor, but because he's not as powerful as Palpatine, he has very, very little influence, like, if that makes sense.
How far after Return of the Jedi are these books set that you're talking about here?
Oh, probably like a year or two, in all honesty.
So, a year or two, then add maybe 3 years to where we are right now. It's possible he stayed hidden if he just stayed in the same spot, but also if if Luke had even sensed him even one bit, because you gotta imagine, Luke, why do I keep saying Anakin? Luke! We're talking about the younger Skywalker now.
Mm-hmm.
Luke had to have gone to Coruscant at some point, maybe for like a parade or something after the Empire's demise. So if he had any level of Force sensitivity in the way that I think he does, he would have sensed the guy hidden away. And Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Because Ahsoka had to have popped up at some point on Coruscant.
Well, I do know that eventually, like, at one point, like, he was still living in the Imperial, like, when the New Republic had not quite, so maybe this is kind of established, but, like, from what I'm reading, like, So this was before the New Republic established itself as, like, the governing force, so they're not on Coruscant yet. He was still living in the Imperial Palace, which in canon at least, Palpatine, after the Jedi Order got killed, he turned the Jedi Temple into his palace. He actually tried to commit suicide, but then he tried to surrender himself to the New Republic, but they didn't want to accept him as a prisoner because they wanted him to gain full control over the Galactic Empire in order to complete a surrender. So, because they wanted the Empire to completely surrender to the New Republic. So possibly maybe that plays into this. Now I do know that eventually Masameda is the one who ultimately has to surrender because the Galactic Civil War is over by the time of the sequel trilogy. But
Yeah.
so possibly maybe Masameda, like maybe Thrawn coming in as part of Masameda's attempt to like regain more control over the Empire. I don't know if Thrawn ever interacted with him or not. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just the reason why I bring him up is because he has a much is that the more I think about it, like he has a much bigger role in Imperial decisions than I think some people realize. Because he was like Palpatine's third hand. Like if Darth Vader was number 2, and I guess Tarkin was number 3,
Yeah.
like Asameda was like a huge insider for Palpatine circles. So he's probably the last guy that has like any real in-depth knowledge of what Palpatine was like. So that's why I bring him up. Maybe he has something to do with this. Like, I don't know.
It's possible. I mean, at this point, it's all fair game. This is all us speculating and
You do
trying
know
to
that
make sense
you
of
know
it.
the character I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
Just so
he was there at Palpatine in episode 1 in that chamber meeting, right?
well, he was with well, he wasn't with Palpatine in episode 1. He was with Valorum, who was the Chancellor in episode 1 before Palpatine got elected,
Truth. Okay. Yeah.
and then but then he appears alongside Palpatine in all scenes in the Senate chamber in episode 2. I think we see him in like a handful of episodes in of the Clone Wars, and then he's also in Revenge of the Sith.
He's blue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And he always carries like this huge staff with him.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It'd be interesting if he was involved, but he had such a minor role. At least in what I remember of the movies and the TV show.
well, yeah, but like by the time of, but I mean, most of that's during the time of the Republic. By the time
Yeah.
of the Empire, like, I mean, technically by default, he's the Emperor because Palpatine is dead, Vader is dead, Tarkin is long gone. I mean, he's been dead. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's very little people left that you could consider de facto in charge of the Empire other than him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm not disputing you. I understand 100% how he can be that person. I'm more so commenting on how much work Filoni would have to do to get the audience to accept this guy being relevant if they haven't read the books. Because right now, the Star Wars fandom is, they're finally coming to terms with the fact that they have to understand the Clone Wars and Rebels to even have a chance at understanding this TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to the point now, like where our good friend John Russo, that's our obligatory mention of him.
Grandmaster Funky J.
There you go. um, he has reinstated his weekly chronological watching of the Clone Wars era. So he's intermixing Tales of the Jedi, Clone Wars, and the movies chronologically with his timeline and getting people to watch it all with him on a week by week basis where they do like 4 or 5 episodes to help new people who are not quite caught up yet catch up and follow along in the right order to get the continuity.
Yep.
So these are things that are happening now because Ahsoka has made it impossible to understand this world, this TV show, without having watched all this stuff now.
Well, yeah, but I think like the scenes that we see in Revenge of the Sith, where it's very clear with how he reacts to Palpatine and how he's like so like deferent he is to Palpatine, that like people could get the vibe that like this guy was always in on Palpatine's plan to be like a Sith. And even if you watch the Clone Wars, like there's literally one scene of one episode, I can't remember what season it is, but where Palpatine says something, and there's a lot of scenes that imply that he's always known that Palpatine is a Sith Lord in
Yeah.
Clone Wars. So, but even if you've seen Revenge of the Sith, I feel like people might recognize him a little bit to the point where they could buy that the guy has some influence, not too much, but
Oh yeah, he's definitely
in the
influential in
Empire.
the Empire structure. I'm not commenting on the continuity at this point. I'm commenting more on the logistics that Filoni has to go through to convince the audience to follow him this way, given how
Yeah,
much work he's put into Thrawn across Rebels and this now.
yeah. But if anybody can do it, it's Filoni.
Filoni will do it. I'm not worried about that. Um, but yeah, that was a very interesting discussion into some of the things we can expect next week. I'm hoping that we can get Hera and Jason to meet Ezra in the next episode if they go back to the normal galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that requires them to actually be able to go home. And
Oh
I
no,
have this sneaking suspicion. I think I'm gonna be correct that they're not gonna go home next week.
and maybe a good chunk of season 2 might have to revolve around them getting home,
Yeah.
because I think they'll do season 2.
Well, okay. So the reason I think they don't come back in time. Okay, so going back into the world of Riz crazy theory here. Um, one possibility of what's happening is they don't make it back right now, and they're kind of stuck waiting there for until after the events of the sequel trilogy. And the way I can see that working is one of two ways. One, they literally have to wait another like 20, 30 years for the events of the sequel to be done, or the two galaxies operate on a different time, and so 1 year in the prime galaxy might only be a couple of hours in the Peridius galaxy. Because I'm trying to think of how do we explain the lack of mention of any of these events in the sequel trilogy.
I I mean, I do know that like the book Bloodline kind of explains that the First Order kind of came within the ranks of the New Republic, but
Mm-hmm.
that's about it.
Yeah, if if Ahsoka and Sabine and Thrawn return, the big question I'm gonna have is, well, what the heck happened to them, and why are they not mentioned at all in the sequel trilogy? Like, I can totally accept not seeing Hera on screen because she's just one general out of many, assuming she's still active at that point 30 years later.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to find a way to explain Ahsoka and Thrawn, and maybe Ezra.
I I don't know. I mean, we still don't know if season 2 has been wrapped up, and we won't know until the Screen Actors Guild it
Yeah,
strike has been done. But yeah, I don't. But I don't see how they can't do a season 2 because there's so much stuff that they are not going to be able
they're
to wrap
gonna
up in one episode.
they're gonna have to do a season two, and they're probably gonna need a Mandalore season four to go aside of it. And I think it'll be Sabine um, having a bigger role in the Mandalorian world.
They have confirmed that they're doing Mandalorian season 4, right?
Not yet.
Okay, but I thought that they did because I remember Jon Favreau saying that there's no plans to end the Mandalorian anytime soon. So
Well, I interpret that two different ways. One, that's season 4, or that's the story continues in other mediums or TV shows or movies.
yeah,
So
that's
they don't.
possible.
He doesn't explicitly say season 4 is coming. Like he just says the story of Grogu and Din is not over yet.
Yeah, that's possible.
So I don't know. I'm very curious to see how they wrap it up, because we have a lot of questions here.
Well, we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
But I doubt. But I mean, I doubt that Dave Filoni would end the series on a cliffhanger without getting confirmation that he'll be given a season 2.
Yeah. Or he's baked this all out to be done in a movie, which is fine. If they want to put this all into the movie to wrap it all up, that's totally cool with me. But they have to do something to continue the story after next week.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they try and wrap it all up next week, that might lessen what we have here.
Yep.
Unless
I'm
they give us
just
a movie next week and make it like a 2-hour episode.
right because I remember like the last episode of Rebels being like an hour long, so maybe they'll give us something like that.
That's exactly why I think they're going to do it, because, I'm sitting there watching this thing and I'm like, holy crap. The Rebels finale is an hour long. I forgot this when I watched it the first time.
Yeah, I remember being kind of shocked when I was watching it. But yeah, but I mean, the only thing I can say is that I mean, when they when they do eventually possibly get season 2, like I I really want to see like I I'm cool with like seeing Balin get killed off in season at the end, but I really want us to delve more into Shin as a character
Yeah.
because Shin I find to be a very intriguing person. Like I feel like you could make her an interesting character because I don't know, like I don't think she's quite at the level of Trilla from Fallen Order. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
seen that character yet, but like Trilla is a great character. I hope that they can make Shin something like that,
Yeah.
where I don't know, like I don't like Shin has the potential to be great because like she's creepy and scary, but she's also kind of she's also kind of pretty. Like she's played by a good looking woman, so
Yeah.
uh,
So,
go ahead.
go ahead. I was going to say, I had another topic, but if you had another comment, go
No,
for
I
it.
had nothing else to say.
Okay. So, I haven't asked you this yet, Nate, because I forgot
Mhm.
until right now. But have you seen the fan theories about. So, there was an Easter egg last week on Balin's wrist. His little communicator thing had some glyphs on it,
Had some what?
like hieroglyphic type language
Oh,
on it.
okay.
Um, and apparently, those are Zephoglyphs, which are apparently in Fallen Order. And the Zephoglyphs read out the names of all the living Skywalker family members. And that's on his wrist communicator.
Okay. Was it in hieroglyphics or was it in Orabesh, like which is
It
the writing language that we see for Star Wars?
it was in the Zephyr or Zephyr, however you say that. Um,
Okay.
Zephoglyphs is what it's called.
I think I remember that being mentioned in Fallen Order once or twice.
Yeah. But so there's a fan theory going around that I found interesting, that Balin's true purpose is something to do with the Skywalker family, because it has Ben Kenobi, it has Ben Solo, it has Leia, it has Luke. It lists a couple other names as well.
I I'm not sure what that would be. Like maybe like it's possible maybe just like a connection that he had with Vader, because I mean because they established that like he did know Vader, because like he surrendered to Vader in order to have his life spared. So maybe it has something to do with that, but I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Because I mean he's old enough to have been like a young adult during Anakin and Obi-Wan's time. So
I am actually hoping that he ends up being uh, one of the younglings in the temple that Anakin was massacring and he escaped.
I don't. That would be cool, but I don't know if you could get away with making him a youngling. Maybe you can make him like a Padawan, like maybe someone who's just like slightly older, because like Kanan was a youngling
Mm-hmm.
during Obi-Wan's time. And do you really think Kanan would look as old as he does at this
That's true.
point? Like, so maybe he
Yeah.
was just a normal Jedi Knight
Yeah.
or someone who maybe he was at the temple, but just not a youngling.
Okay. So I'm making a correction what I said earlier. We do see Zepho glyphs in the last episode, but the names on his wrist are not written in Zepho glyph. They're written in Oribus, and the names are Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, R2D2, 3PO, and Ben.
So
And
maybe those are people that he had to target at one point, or
th- it could be a hit list.
yeah, that's what I find to be likely.
Yeah. It's such a small detail that I think it took a couple of days for people to notice it because that didn't pop up on the internet until almost like 2 days ago, I think.
Yeah,
So it's a pretty small deal. It's not something that you would immediately know about.
I would assume it's probably just a hit list.
Yeah. It's what makes the most sense to me anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, there's something going on there with him and the Skywalkers and their assortment of droids.
I maybe. I mean, I would say maybe it would have to do with like the heroes of Yavin. They've never used that official in canon, but like in Legends, they refer to Leia, Chewie, Han, and Luke are big four of the original trilogy, the heroes of Yavin. Uh,
Yeah, but Ben's name.
yeah,
And I'm assuming that's Ben Solo and not Ben Kenobi.
yeah, it would have to be Ben Solo.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I should have sent you the article, but I forgot about it until now. And I thought it was interesting.
Well,
But
it's something to look up.
yeah, definitely something to talk about again. But yeah, no, that's just interesting stuff that I found when I was just browsing my social media like I do.
Mm-hmm. There's just two other things I want to bring up. So first of all, one Easter egg. We find out that Zeb is apparently training new recruits for the New Republic, which I I don't I know that he appears in Mandalorian season 3. He's at like a New Republic base and he speaks to Carson Teva at one point. So I guess this establishes what he's actually doing there. Which
Yeah.
I mean, Zeb is a drill sergeant. Can you imagine that?
No, because I for the vigil to be complete, I need Zeb as the drill sergeant with Chopper in the background throwing cartons at them and doing his trademark Chopper chuckle.
Yeah, but that can't happen because Chopper's with Hera.
No, but that's the only way I will accept Zeb as a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it happened. I'm just saying that's what I need to have happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to see live action Chopper throwing cartons at Ezra and knocking him off the ship.
Yeah. And speaking of Ezra, I can't remember the name of the this actor escapes me, but I I think that like the scene in particular where like this was the part where I got sold with him as Ezra. So uh Shin Hati has just beaten like Sabine, and all the Imperial soldiers are surrounding them, and she tells them like kill them, and then Ezra's like whoa 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 whoa, could you just like how about you don't do that, like you could take us as prisoner, don't you want to take us as prisoner? And I'm like, yep, that is totally something Ezra would do. So
Ezra
that
learned that from Hondo.
yeah, so that is totally Ezra. This guy has me sold as live action Ezra.
Also, Filoni, if you're hearing this somehow, where the heck is Hondo?
Yeah, because I mean, technically, I've seen Hondo in live action because they made like a the closest thing to live action because like at Galaxy's Edge when you do the Millennium Falcon ride, like they have this animatronic of Hondo, and then when you actually go into the Falcon to do the ride, they apparently show this very live action looking thing of Hondo being like, "You do job for me, you do well. Now go, now you can go on home now." Like that's the closest thing you can see for Hondo in live action, but. Uh,
Dear Rizwan finances for 2024, we're going to Orlando and we're going to go to Disney World and we're going to go to Star Wars Land.
Yeah. In fact, my wife has been my wife is always looking for an excuse to go to Disney World. Like she's been suggesting that you and I go just to check out Galaxy's Edge.
I mean, I'm down. I'll even go to Disney World with y'all. I don't care. I want to go see that too.
Yeah. Because I like literally had a huge fanboy moment. Like when I go into this like Galaxy's Edge ride, I'm like, okay, they're gonna show us Han or Chewie, like someone from the movies that everyone will know. And then I see Hondo and it's like, wait a minute, that's Hondo. I didn't expect to see Hondo. They're acknowledging Hondo. That's so awesome.
That is so beautiful that it's Hondo.
Yes, and they have him speak in his Hondo voice. You know, you go do job for me, but you also pay me, but you also give me all the money, and I give you nothing, eh? Or something like.
But see, that's even better, honestly.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we have to do the Millennium Falcon ride. That's like the best ride in
Yeah.
the Galaxy's Edge. There's not really much else I wanted to bring up. Like, I really wanted to give a shout out to Ezra's performance here because, like, I thought he was okay in the last episode, but we didn't get to see him much. But like he has me sold as like grown adult Ezra at this point.
Well, the thing that's most interesting about Ezra is while he's been trapped in his solitude over here, he's been getting really good at the Force.
Yeah. At
Like,
one point, he does something similar to what Kylo Ren kind of does, where like Shin swings her lightsaber at him and he like stops it with the Force,
yeah.
like he slows her down, which seems to be a common thing with Disney. Like we see Kylo Ren do that all the time, and like the Force slow, that's like a trademark power that you can use in a Fallen Order,
Yeah, it
like a
is.
Force attack.
Yep.
So yeah, that seems to be a thing that Disney seems to be kind of obsessed with, in all honesty. And I like it, you know, using the Force as like practically something that you can use to defend against a lightsaber instead of
Yeah.
like just fighting with the lightsaber. I mean, that's a cool thing that I'm so glad Disney created.
And honestly, it's just nice to see Ezra's skills grow like that. Like, he didn't want a lightsaber, he didn't need a weapon. He he took a gun for like all of 2 seconds, but otherwise he didn't need any of it.
Yeah. Like seeing him go fight. And, you know, I mean, Sabine offers him his lightsaber and he doesn't take it.
She offers his own lightsaber to him.
And he's like, no, I gave it to you. You keep it.
Yeah. And she's like, what the heck, guy? But yeah, no, I'm sold on what's happening in Ahsoka. Like every week, it just continues being really good stuff.
Yes.
And I think one of the most impactful parts of the episode that we didn't really talk about a lot is that conversation with Ezra and Sabine before all the battles begin.
Yeah, I mean, those two have really good chemistry.
Yeah. And I think they sell the fact that this is Ezra and Sabine from Rebels again. Like, the way they talk, the way they interact, totally, 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 totally them.
And I just want to say this. I know it's too soon, but you could say it's too soon, but I really don't care. Like, this is probably the most fun I've had watching a Star Wars live action series on Disney Plus since probably Mandalorian season 2. Because, like, I mean, okay, Book of Boba Fett was whatever. I liked Kenobi. I really liked Kenobi,
Yeah.
but it wasn't as amazing as I thought it was going to be. Mandalorian season 3. I mean, I need to finish that. I You and I
See,
tried to watch
season 3
Andor.
is really good. Um, it has a lot of really good moments in it, and I think the best part of it is the Mandalorian world building we get,
Hmm.
and to focus on them.
But I just feel like this is on a whole nother level because like it feels like a continuation of the animated shows and Star
Yeah,
Wars, like the animated shows, namely Clone Wars and Rebels, like that's peak Star Wars stuff.
it
And
is,
to see a live
and
action show that's a continuation of it and get it down perfectly is just, I can't think of a
well,
word to describe how great that is.
honestly, it doesn't matter what medium it is because Filoni is the continuity you needed between all of it. He has that vision in his head,
Hmm.
so literally, this is all because Filoni has stuck around for almost 15, 20 years at this point.
Yeah. But I would now, with that said, and I don't want to say this with negative connotations. I am going to give this one more of a, I want to give it an 8 out of 10. I do want to say that if I want to be technical about it, this is probably the I don't want to say worst because that implies bad. This is probably the least good of the episodes because it ultimately is like a setup and like, I mean, a good
Yeah.
like half of this episode's runtime is action, which is fine, but I mean, it's mostly setup and that's why I'm fine with it. I mean, there's this like but I still think it's good. And the funny thing is I knew it was going to be good when a certain person on social media said that he didn't like it because I'm not going to mention him by name because I don't like to call people out like that. But like, there's this one person he says, "Oh, he didn't like it. Okay, it's going to be good."
Yeah.
'Cause I'm not mentioning anybody by name. I don't want to cause any personal drama. I don't do that. I don't call people out like that. But yeah, that.
Nathan's a better person than me.
Well, I try to be a better person, but um,
I would call him out. I'd be like name dropping. I'd be going in the street and yelling their name out and saying, "This is the guy. Screw that guy."
but
But Nathan is over here like, "No, I'm gonna be nice to him. I'm not gonna call him out like that. He didn't deserve it."
well, okay, I think he might deserve it, but I'm not going to give it to him because
Yeah, yeah, I know.
I think I'm better than that.
Yeah, you are. But anyway, let's stop vague booking.
Yeah, but what would you give it out of 10?
So before I give my number to you, I'm gonna say the way I score these things, Toku or Star Wars or even anime, I have two different metrics here. And one set of metrics is for normal episodes, and then the other metric is for setting up episodes. And typically, when you get a setup episode, I'm going to give it an 8. But that doesn't mean it's not as good. It just means it's a required episode we need to build something bigger. So, in my mind, an 8 is a 9 or a 10, but on the technical scale, it falls back down to an 8. So I'm giving it an 8 as well. And that's my long way of saying that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to explain the way I think about the logic.
Hmm. But all I can say is I'm so looking forward to this finale, and I hope that Disney announces season 2 very soon. Although it probably maybe not until the Screen Actors Guild strike wraps up, but I do. But they did say that like the big deciding factor on whether or not they'd get a season 2 is if season 1 does really well, and I mean it's getting positive reviews, so
It's getting positive reviews, but I'm also seeing articles say that the viewership on Disney Plus is not what they're expecting.
okay.
So that could be a problem, but I'm hoping not.
Well, I mean, if fans love it, then that's all that it really should matter.
Yeah.
Um, anything else you want to say?
No, I think I've said a lot.
Okay.
There's not much else I can say at this point.
Well, then I just can't wait till the finale.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Okay, well, with that said, we that pretty much wraps up this podcast. I know that we spent a lot of time speculating on other stuff, but that's just because this episode didn't have as much happening in it, which is fine because they're setting up for a finale, so not a big deal.
Yeah.
So a little bit of an update. Once we finish Ahsoka, we're going to be probably doing like just like at least like twice a month. I'll have my book reviews until we decide to do our next big thing. We're going to be doing Clone Wars and Bad Batch at some point. Also, Tales of a Jedi. I'm still trying to work on finishing Shadow of the Sith. I've been incredibly busy with other stuff, but I'm trying to get it finished. I hope
Yeah.
I hope to have it finished by the end of the year. Let me put it to you guys like
Th-
that.
this month of September in 2023 has been a very big month for our fandoms total. So we got Ahsoka going on right now for Star Wars. We got Power Rangers Cosmic Fury coming out in literally 2 days.
Yep.
Um, and then there's all kinds of really good stuff coming out beyond all that we're trying to keep up with. So we're in overload right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if we're going to really get that much of a break because allegedly Skeleton Crew comes out in November, but I haven't seen enough info to say that that's a real thing yet.
Well, we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna try to get Shadows of the Sith finished up very soon. I have other written reviews that I'm gonna go off of for other Star Wars book reviews. If you have a book that you would like for me to check out, or for both Riz and I to check out, send leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube, or send us feedback on at our website animesecrets.org. If you're watching this on Spotify, or if you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, we thank you guys, and you guys leave us 5 stars or however much, just leave us some feedback. And that about wraps this up. Next time we will do Ahsoka episode 8, and then after that, we'll try to have a better idea of like what our future will be after that, and we'll let you guys know at the end of that podcast. We'll have a better idea for you guys. But we thank you guys so much for checking us out. We'll see you guys next time when we wrap up Ahsoka, and we'll give our overall thoughts to the series. We're really looking forward to that podcast. But until that time, you guys stay safe. We love you, and may the Force be with you.